everyone, True here with another African violet video. Today I wanted to show you what happens when your outer leaves get a little bit old on an African violet plant, and when it's time to do some grooming and to remove those outer leaves. And it's really, I've got 4 examples here, and it's really obvious. You can actually see that the outer leaves have gone quite pale, quite yellowy on this first plant. You can see they're a little mottled. There's a bit of colour sort of variation between them. You'll see like the newer leaves that are coming from the centre crown there. They're nice and dark green, very healthy looking, but these outer leaves are looking very pale, very mottly. And there has been a few that have already started to die off. So what you would need to do is this outer layer here, these leaves, they're the leaves that you would remove. So that outer layer, you can, if you want to, remove some of this second inner layer here, these ones, but you can leave them. So these ones in the center look quite healthy, but these outer layer ones here, they probably need to be removed now. And that will help with getting more flowers, removing those older leaves, because the plant's not then putting its energy into feeding and keeping these older leaves alive. So these will need to be removed. So in this next example here, this is a plant that's actually gets quite a bit more light than this first plant here. So it's a little bit brighter in color. And the outer leaves, you can see, again, these outer leaves have this pale, yellowy look to them. So if I come back, you can see the inner leaves are darker green. And then those outer leaves, you can really see the difference between the inner leaves and the outer leaves. So this one, you would remove this outer layer here, because these are the older leaves. And they're not really doing anything for the plant apart from taking away a lot of its energy that it can put into flowering. And now's a good time to remove them, because this plant, you can see it's about to flower. It's got these little flower stalks coming up and a little ant crawling over it. It's got these flower stalks coming up. And if you remove these now, it'll help give you a greater amount of blooms in the coming month. So very obvious. And this is just how you do your tidying up on your African violets, keeping them nice and healthy, is removing those outer leaves. So this example here is a little bit different. You can see that the outer leaves they have that paler look, but they also have some birthmarking to them. So you can see it's got like a bit of a pattern to the leaves. Now this isn't a variegated plant. That pattern, it can happen on some plants and different things can cause it, but we want to remove it because we're trying to keep the plant as healthy as possible so that we get more blooms. Unfortunately, my African violets are outside in little greenhouses at the moment as an experiment, just to see, because in the greenhouses it's getting the humidity up a bit, because where I live it's very hot, dry climate. And I'm experimenting with them outside to see how they go. Unfortunately, where I also live, is I can show you a little quick, because I'm filming this outside. I have all bushland around my property, which is wonderful. The wildlife love it. But they also love to eat African violets. And even though they are in little greenhouses that are sealed up, they can get in underneath. So this one's had something chew it. A few leaves have also been chewed here and there. And I did actually notice this morning that I had a snake skin in one of my greenhouses. I also get an awful lot of snakes on my property. So unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to move them back inside. Even though they're very happy outside and loving the climate outside, I'm going to have to move them back, I think, into my sunroom, just so that there's not enough, I'm not getting bitten by a snake or anything. when I try to water them and put my hands in the greenhouse. So I'm sure that there's 1 or 2 living in there at the moment, so I'm going to have to be careful when I do move them. But that's just part and parcel of living in Australia. You do get used to it after a while. And living in the bush, which is another thing that you get used to. There's an awful lot of wildlife. So this one, yeah, you would remove these outer leaves, get rid of these, just that outer layer. And then you can see all these nice fresh leaves coming through. This one's also getting another bloom on it here. So we just tidy this one up a bit and remove those outer leaves. Now these 3 are in plastic pots. You can see they're all in plastic pots. This one here, it's in a terracotta pot. Now this one, because it's in a terracotta pot, it's still having the same problems. But what's actually happened, as you can see here, and this often happens with terracotta pots. So I'm not a huge fan of terracotta pots, but they do look pretty. African violets look very pretty in them, but they do get damaged because their leaves are quite fragile. They get damaged quite a bit. So you can see this one here, just because you get this salt layer buildup, plus with temperature, when it gets cooler at night, having that leaf rest on the edge, what's actually happened is it's broken off. And you can combat that by putting a little bit of alfoil around the edges. Some people have suggested putting candle wax around the edges, and that way it just smooths the surface off. So you can do that, and that will help protect the leaves when they are resting on the edges. But this one here, you can see exactly the same thing has happened. You've got these outer leaves. They've gone paler, not looking very healthy at all. That one's got a bit of a split on it there. So these ones here, they will all need to be removed. So all of these will need to be removed. And you can see the inner growth happening here, which is lovely and green. And you've got some flowers. They're getting a little bit older now, these blooms. They'll be going soon. And you can see like the healthy crown that's coming through. So these outer leaves will need to be removed. And so you can do that. You can check every few days, and when you see that any of the leaves are looking a little bit yellowy on the outside and you're getting that sort of more ratty outer layer, you can just remove them, and that will help your plants produce more blooms and be much healthier. So I hope that this video has helped, and just giving you a bit of advice on how to keep your African violets looking tidy and healthy. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.